What's up guys, here, and in today's video we finally, got the first episode of God of High School. It even crashed at first, but we got our hands into it. It was really interesting because they forgot some stuff from the webtoon and I guess they just went from it. Just like we were supposed to see a fight between, I think, Judge R and Jin-mori, but I guess we're getting this in the next episode for a little backstory of how players actually entered the God of High School. Now, before I start, make sure to subscribe for more God of High School content, and make sure to follow me on Twitter for more anime content. Okay, now let's start for the episode review. Well, the episode starts with Park Moo-jin talking with CEOs who wants to buy his place. By place, I basically mean the God of High School. Park Moo-jin is the CEO of it, and all of those CEOs are in the beach, and he talked about how Moo-jin is not doing his job right. He's not making enough money for the God of High School, and they think that they could do something better by exposing Park Moo-jin and his dark path to the God of High School. But suddenly the birds are starting to go crazy and the ocean starts to go the opposite way, and there is something flying over this beach that kills all of the CEOs at the same time. While this was happening, Park Moo-jin tells to Judge P if everything is going alright, what's the progress of everything, and she responds with everything is going as planned. And with a serious look on his face, Park Moo-jin looks at a wall with gods, humans, and monsters and says, "Let us begin." And on the next shot, we actually see what crushed the CEOs on the beach. And in the webtoon, it looked like a giant hand that crushed them, but in the anime, it looked like 3 fingers and a cross. That's a little bit weird, but we're gonna go with it, I guess. It explains actually a lot that will happen in the anime, but I won't say shit. After the opening that has a little bit of spoilers in it, we actually get to see some of Jin-mori's backstory with his grandpa, of how he liked his grandpa. His grandpa was saying that in times like these, you gotta stand tall and smile big, that Jin needs to go to school to make a lot of friends and learn. And then his grandpa leaves the scene, leaving Jin-mori all alone in the rain. But suddenly, Jin-mori just woke up from a dream. He looks straight ahead of a picture of him and his grandpa that's in front of him. And he looks at his left and he saw the alarm clock a little bit broken and sees that he is late as hell. So he gets his bicycle and run the whole damn neighborhood with it. Later on, we actually get some scenes of Seoul, the city, and we actually get to see how God of High School is actually getting sponsored by all of the city, basically. Panels, the news, paper, everything. And we see people actually getting excited for it. You see, this is not just a tournament, this is the God of High School. And then inside of a small supermarket, we actually get to see Daiwei. This is not how we were supposed to see him. I guess that probably in the next episode we are going to have some backstories of all the characters that we actually had to see in this episode. And there's also a reason why he works so hard, but this will be for next video. After that, we see some martial artists sitting on a bench exhausted because they didn't get inside of the God of High School. And for entering the God of High School, you'll need to fight one of the judge to see if you're worthy enough to get inside the God of High School. But then we see it. We see Mira simping over people who got big muscles, and she asks the martial artists where's the arena. And while they were showing instructions for the God of High School, Mira is actually peeping some muscles and she couldn't resist and yells she loves muscles. So the martial artist decides to look like straight titans. Moving on, we have Jin, who is still going straight to the tournament, but some thief in a motorcycle just ran past him, almost pushing him over of his bicycle. And then he sees it. He sees the grandma crying, saying stop the thief. And we actually get to see a little backstory of the grandma itself. She's trying to raise money for her son who has a brain tumor. Moved by the story, Jin decides to go after the thief. And at the same time that this happens, we actually see some kind of rapper in, I think, YouTube, who's doing a live in YouTube, who's actually rapping in the streets, making some fire ass verses. And on the live, we see the thief was getting pursued by Jin-mori, and the MC is making some cool ass parkour with his bicycle, like some shit that we never saw before. He basically threw the bicycle under a truck, jumped over the truck, and went back to his bicycle like nothing happened. And the thief is still trying to shake him off of him. Later on, they went into a highway, and the thief thinks he win. He thinks he's good at it. He's like, oh, looks like I win and everything. So Jin sees a ramp and just jumps over it with the bicycle and lands right beside the thief. And you know how crazy it is to be at the same speed of a motorcycle that's going super fast, and Jin is just on a bicycle. It's crazy. While Jin-mori was still pursuing the thief, he actually encounters Mira, who's still simping over the martial artist, and she eats a full-on wheel of a bicycle on her face. And this shit went in slow motion just to have a good ass laugh. After she got punched by the bicycle, she decides to take her weapon and throw it at Jin. Jin has an accident. She grabs him, beat the fuck out of him a little bit, and then Jin explains the story with the grandma and the money. She gets moved by it, and they both decide to get after the thief. Later on, we actually see Daiwei, who's seeing the scene and doesn't do anything for the moment, just walks through it, and he decides to open his phone to watch the live stream of the rapper. Moving on to the next scene, we still see Jin and Mira pursuing the thief. We see Mira, who's trying to attack him with her sword, trying to slash the hell out of him, can't even reach him, and she misses all of her shot. But then the thief decides to show his special move, his 10 years of motorcycle training, and decides to do one of the best drift I've ever seen in anime. But Jin and Mira are still capable of pursuing him. Seeing this, the thief decides to throw all the money he stole from the grandma. Jin is clearly seeing this, so he decides to stop the bicycle and pushing over Mira, who's going to attack the thief. But sadly, she gets hit by one of the panels of the fucking streets, marking her face on the panel. It was really funny, but it was just so sudden. And then the thief thinks he won, so he's saying yes, he's laughing, until we see a little fist showing up in front of him, and that is Daiwei, who just saw the thief in front of him and decides to punch the hell out of him, and the thief just went flying. Relieved, Jin, Mira are looking at Daiwei, really surprised of how strong he is, and I think that Mira is actually having a little crush on our boy Daiwei. Later on, we actually see Judge T, a really interesting character in my opinion, who's hosting the God of High School. We even see a shot of the big ass arena, and we also see some of the judges, just like Judge O, Judge Q, Judge R, and Judge P. Moving on, we actually see Jin and Daiwei having a little conversation in the changing room, and for some reason this changing room is unisex, so there's some females inside of that changing room too, just like Mira. And she's saying to Jin that he needs to pay her back for her glasses because she cannot see anything right now, and they all decided to introduce themselves. A face bump later, we actually see Judge T, who's explaining the God of High School, what is forbidden and what is permitted. And between me and you, there's a lot of things that you can bring in the God of High School, like weapons. And he's also explaining that there's also a lot of fighting style. Just like I said in my previous God of High School video, there is a lot of fighting style. Probably in the next video, I will talk about fighting styles, probably explain them details by details. But Judge T finally brings the fighters out. And with this said, we actually see a lot of fighters from different schools, from different areas. And you can kind of notice who we are going to focus on because of the camera angles. Later on, Judge T again explains bracelets that every fighter has on their wrist. And those bracelets are very important. They are showing the power level of the fighters, their HP, and God points. Those God points, I will explain them on the next video, or probably on a later on video, because they didn't show or explain what are like God points, and those are really complicated to know. They're probably gonna show it like in 2 or 3 episodes, I'll say. But yeah, if they didn't show it in the anime yet, I'm not gonna make a video on it. But besides that, Judge T explains that there are little mini bots inside of their bodies that actually heals them directly when they get injured. So if they are fighting at full power, nobody's going to die. And he also says that the people that are going to win the God of High School is granted with one wish, just like Dragon Ball. But this will be a little different. And the last phrase that Judge T says to the fighters is, "We are going to begin the fighting right now." So everybody's looking at each other really surprised, even the crowd saying it's a battle royale and everything. So 2 fighters are starting the fight, then everybody starts to fight. But something really smart about those bracelets is that you can see the opponent's power level. So the fighter can decide not to fight him or to fight him, of course, if he has a lower power level than his. But don't get fooled by power levels, people. In the webtoon, there's people with power levels like 4, but they are actually more stronger than that. So if I were you people just don't trust those bracelets, because the power levels can go really up or it can go lower than that. We even see Park Moo-jin watching the fight from his private jet, and this isn't a little fight. Everybody's fighting on, even people with weapons. There's some people with batons and nunchucks. And then we see some characters fight, a lot of them. I would love to go in depth on them, but that will probably be on some other videos. Just the only thing I could do for you guys is actually naming them and giving you their fighting style. So at first we do see Jahi Bayon, who is practicing Brazilian taijutsu, I think. Moving on, we actually see Gamdo-go Taichi, who's practicing just taijutsu. Next we see Misonma, who's practicing wrestling just like WWE. Next we have one of my favorite characters, Baik, who isn't using any fighting style, but he uses a baseball bat. That is really important, but I will not explain anything, sadly. After that, we even see the main cast going for it. We see Dawei using his Kyoshi Karate on many opponents at the same time, Mira who's using the swordsmanship as a weapon and doing some Zoro type shit on the opponents, and we even see our boy Jin going at it, using his fighting style Taekwondo. But I won't say anything because, you know, we know a lot of stuff about his fighting style and there's something happening, but yeah, I ain't gonna say anything about it. But yeah, one by one he's beating every opponent, but there's a little error that they did, because in the webtoon he is only using his fists, not his legs, because he's waiting for the right opponent to use his legs, but for some reason he's just using them like it was nothing. And after he beats the last opponent, he looks at the window that all of the judges are looking at, and he is looking right at Judge R, because before he entered the God of High School, he needed to fight one of the judges, and he was fighting Judge R. They're probably going to explain in the next episode how did he got in the tournament, but I will not say anything for the moment. And all of the judges are having a conversation about the opponents, who's strong, who's weak, until Judge P explains that they had a little arrangement with the Soul Reformatory, which brings us a new opponent named Gangman, who is using Taekwondo as his fighting style. And crazy as he is, he goes after some opponents like a monster. And then Mira goes after him, trying to fight him, but surprisingly, Gangbang is dodging every move that she is making, even grabbing her sword with his foot. Seeing this, Mira is making a new move on Gangbang, a no sword style, just like Zoro. Kind of beats him, but he didn't feel anything, to be honest. He just stood here with the sword, still on his feet and peeping in her panties. But coming to the rescue, Jin actually puts down Gangman's pants, and we actually see his boxers, something that is really humiliating because those boxers are filled with animals and the boxers are pink. Putting his pants back on, he kicks Jin-mori out of his face, but he didn't realize that his leg was broken, because at the same moment that he was kicking Jin actually give a elbow on the side of his foot. After seeing this, Gangman is really interested in fighting Jin-mori. So both of them are looking at each other, ready to fight, and jumps. Same for Jin, he jumps too, and they both look at each other, ready to fight. And this was the end of the first episode of God of High School. I really don't know what to say. This was the first episode. They showed us some characters, they didn't name them. We saw some stuff that we're probably going to see more in the next episode. So with that said, I really enjoyed it. I wasn't expecting that much to show. I don't know, They were missing stuff in the anime that wasn't according to the webtoon, but I guess it's alright. But, you know, I don't really know how they're gonna do for the fighting style of Jin though, but that's pretty much it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, put a like under it, put your thoughts in the comments. I would love to do voices for this when people are talking, but it's up to you guys. Tell me in the comments. And see you guys in the next video.